Hello guys, hope you're doing well as always and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be doing my Premier League predictions. And let me tell you, I am so glad that I don't have to do any more of these predictions videos because it has been tiresome. But there's also been fun, so let's not forget that, and hopefully they've been fun to watch as well. If you guys don't know what I'm on about, if this is your first time here, I've done my League 2 predictions, League 1 predictions, Championship predictions, and today we are capping it off with the motherload. It is the Premier League 2024-2025 predictions video. As always, you guys are not going to agree with a lot of my opinions today, but they are just my opinions, so let's not have a hissy fit over where I've put West Ham, for instance. Bad example, they've actually done alright, but I'm always happy for a debate. I'm always happy for you guys to disagree, so get in the comments with your own predictions and what you think about mine as well. There's definitely going to be some room for controversy, as there always is. Also, comment down below what teams you want me to go and visit this season. If you want me to go and visit yours, the football vlogs will be back with a bang, as they always are, and this season I really want to make a good go of it. So let me know what games I should go and see, what teams I should go and see, and last but not least, if you have any videos from your teams, whether or not they are a review or of what's going on the pitch, if it's a funny moment, a good goal, I've left an email in the description down below. We've got a few coming already. Anything that you guys are happy for me to share in a video one day, it'd be great to add to what we've already got. But enough of all this nonsense, let's get into the predictions. I'm recording this about 4 or 5 days before it goes out, so bear that in mind. But starting off in 20th place, I am going with Southampton. It's never nice to put a team in bottom place, and especially when it's a club like Southampton, because I went to go and see them a few times last year. They're a great side, great stadium, great fans, and they will be absolutely delighted with how last season went, securing their return to the top flight of the English leagues at the first time of asking after defeating Leeds United in the playoff final. Although I think it's safe to say, out of the 3 promoted sides that made it up into the Premier League, Southampton probably looked the weakest. They were certainly the least consistent, but on their day they were able to show that they could turn up and definitely earned their place back in the top flight. They've brought in Harwood Bellis on a permanent deal following his impressive loan spell at the club, but Flynn Downs for me is an excellent piece of business for the Saints. Overall, however, I don't think that they have strengthened anywhere near enough to survive. The gap in quality between the Championship and the Premier League is just something else, and the fact that Southampton only scraped through the Championship whilst playing out from the back, they're just not going to be able to do that this season in the Premier League. They're going to get caught out, and Southampton belong in this division, but for me, I think that they have just made it back a season or two too soon. 19th place now, and another team that have only just made it back to the Premier League, and no, it's not Ipswich. I'm going with Leicester City. Much like Southampton, they are back in the Premier League at the first time of asking, taking the Championship trophy with them, and the Foxes fans are going to be in dreamland after what was a fantastic campaign for them last season. Under Enzo Maresca, they were one of my favourite teams to watch last season, and I think that losing him will be such a huge blow, especially when Steve Cooper is the man tasked with replacing him. Maresca is a good young coach with a real point to prove compared to Steve Cooper, who's a man that excelled with Nottingham Forest in the Championship but failed to do so in the Premier League. And even though it was out of Leicester's control, I think that getting promoted and changing your manager straight away is always a recipe for disaster. Furthermore, they're on the brink of receiving a points deduction as well, which hasn't been confirmed as to how many it's going to be yet, but guesstimating that it's going to be about 3 or 4. That is also going to play a significant impact on their survival attempts, and it hurts me to say that because I love Leicester. I think a lot of football fans do, but I have to stay true to my instincts. 18th place now, and I am going with Nottingham Forest. Nuno Espirito Santo managed to keep Forest up last season more comfortably on paper than it actually was in reality. They fought bravely against relegation over the last few seasons, but it ultimately feels like trying to stop a sinking ship at the moment, especially when you see how fine those margins have been at keeping them up. They have got a good manager under Nuno, but seeing how desperately they are trying to stop themselves against relegation by just throwing money at this team, you can't help but wonder when that money's going to run out, but also their luck in staying up is going to run out as well. That being said, they have got some very good players in their team, Gibbs White being an obvious choice, Taiwo Awoniyi as well, and the investment that they've made into the first team has been positive, so actually this is going to be one of the first teams that I say could definitely outdo my prediction, possibly even do so quite comfortably, but my biggest problem is that it just hasn't gelled yet. When will it gel? Will it ever gel? And if they get relegated, where does that leave them when they've spent so much money on this squad? They are unpredictable, and as I say, they are capable of staying up, but I just don't have much faith in them this season, and I think think that this will be the season that sees Forest go down. 17th place now, and I'm going with Ipswich Town. No, this is not me fishing for comments. Yes, I accept that there are players in their team that were competing in League One only 2 seasons ago, but I genuinely believe that Ipswich have got a real shot at staying up this season. After shocking the footballing world by completing back-to-back promotions last season, Ipswich marked their return to the top flight for the first time since 2002. Unlike Leicester, they've kept hold of their manager in Kieran McKenna and also stuck with the majority of the team that got them there in the first place. Positives and negatives can be drawn from what I just said there, but ultimately I'm leaning more towards the positives. I think it is a much more sensible approach than trying to rebuild a new team of the likes of Nottingham Forest, whilst the signings that they've made this season sets them up nicely for the Premier League, but also if they do happen to suffer relegation, which I accept is likely, then they've still got a good squad that will compete at a championship level. I think that like Forest, they've got a real 50-50 shot at staying up, and whilst I think that Leicester and Nottingham Forest have arguably got better squads than Ipswich on paper, I think that what gives Ipswich the edge is just how together the team are, as well as the stability of keeping the same manager and faith in the players that got them there in the first place. Many have got Ipswich nailed on to finish bottom this season, and like I said, I accept that there's a strong possibility that that could happen, but I believe that they can just about edge it. I do feel like Ipswich could benefit from a couple more additions before the transfer window closes, but I think that their squad is in good nick, and I think that they could just about stay up. And I'm putting my head on the line. I will die on this hill, and I will probably look back to regret this, but if I don't, who'll be laughing then? 16th place, and one team that definitely will not be laughing at the end of the season, I have gone with Everton. Lewis Dobbin, Ben Godfrey and Amadou Onana. 3 players sold and 3 gaps to fill for an Everton side who continue to frustrate. I think it is going to be a real challenge for Everton this season, and whilst I don't think that they're going to get sucked into too bad of a relegation battle, their transfer dealings just don't fill me with any more optimism than the limited optimism that I already had. There's of course a good group of players still present for Sean Dyche to keep afloat with the likes of Pickford, Gay, Decore and Tarkowski, but it's reminded me of the job that he had with Burnley, and the question for Everton is how long until they just can't manage anymore. In the forward areas of the pitch as well, I really worry for the Toffees, but I don't think it is going to be the positive farewell to Goodison Park that many Evertonians would have hoped for. Luckily for Everton though, we've seen a weaker group of teams come up into the Premier League than we've seen in the last few seasons, and I do think for that reason that they will end up staying up quite comfortably, but they desperately need to strengthen their team if they want to try and build and stay in the division next season, but that is a conversation for another year. For now, I think that they're safe, but my oh my, does that squad need some additions, and need some additions quick. 15th place, and a team that I don't have loads to say about in all honesty, I have gone with Brentford. Last season saw a surprising dip for Brentford as they finished in 16th place, and I don't think that we're going to see any major improvements this season. Ivan Toney's future is uncertain, made even more so by the signing of Igor Thiago, but as we know, Brentford's problems stem further than just their lack of goals. Their defence was unusually leaky, conceding the most number of goals since their return to the Premier League with 65 fired past Flecken. They've got a good coach and a good squad that would really benefit from more signings than just a striker. Perhaps some improvements in midfield and defence wouldn't go amiss, but the foundations are definitely there. I think that they will improve slightly this season, but as I say, I just think that there needs to be more investment into this first team for them to really kick on and have a positive season. 14th place now, and moving away from any real relegation threat and moving closer towards those mid-table spaces, I am going to go with Wolverhampton Wanderers. Gary O'Neill leads Wolves out again after a solid 23-24 season that saw the boys from the Black Country finish in 14th place. Slow and steady seems to be the approach for Wolves at the moment, but the loss of Max Kilman is one that I fear will hurt them a lot with how crucial he was for them at the back. Furthermore, I wouldn't say that I'm massively blown away by their transfer dealings as of yet. I haven't heard of any of the players that they've signed so far, and there are gaps in this first team in areas that could definitely do with strengthening. Wolves need to make some first team signings, otherwise I can see things going sour for them, but I think that they have got a really good core to their squad. They've got themselves a good manager, and I think that they are just about strong enough to avoid being dragged into a relegation fight at any point this season. They just need some reassurance on the transfer front. 13th place now, and I am going with Fulham. Now, they were par of the course last season, finishing solidly in mid-table, and I think that this season they will have some similar fortunes. The big talking point is of course João Paulinia's departure to Bayern Munich in what felt like the inevitable conclusion to his time at Craven Cottage, but his absence will be felt at points during this season. It strengthens their budget, however. I mean, none of that has been spent yet, and I do think that there needs to be some bolstering in their first team ranks. Tosin Adarabiyoyo is going to be a big miss for Fulham, and a signing that I'm pleased to have been made at Chelsea, but I don't think that Fulham are going to be doomed based off of these two transfer departures alone. I do, however, think that they will drop down the league unless they reinvest well into their first team, which seems to be a reoccurring theme at this place in the table. 12th place now, and I am going with Bournemouth. Andoni Iraola has done wonders at Bournemouth last season. Considering the squad he's got to work with, he managed to get the side playing some really good football and looking very competitive throughout the season. Aided of course by Dominic Solanke, who netted 19 goals last season, and Bournemouth look on course for another steady season. Like I've said a fair few times in this video, I would like to see a bit more investment into the Bournemouth side. The squad is practically the same as what we saw last season, and with teams around them strengthening here or there, I don't think that they're particularly going to struggle this season, and I do expect to see more of the same. Under Iraola, they are levels above some of the teams that we've mentioned so far, so I think a comfortable mid-table slot will be a fair prediction for Bournemouth this season. 11th place, and perhaps a shock, perhaps maybe not, I've gone with Brighton. And Brighton, as we know, are a club that's run magnificently by Tony Bloom. Their departure of Pascal Gross to Borussia Dortmund would usually be of concern, however, with their recruitment being as strong as it's been, they've most likely scouted some random player that we've never heard of before that will slot into that position seamlessly. Their biggest departure, however, is that of De Zerbi, who left the Seagulls in order to join up with Marseille. Their replacement, however, is Fabian Hürzeler, the man who guided St. Pauli to the Bundesliga 2 title last season, winning 20 out of their 34 matches. We'll have to wait and see if he can live up to the expectations set by the likes of De Zerbi and Graham Potter before him, but like I said, Brighton do tend to do very well when it comes to their recruitment. I don't think that their squad this season is as primed to compete with some of the big boys above them, certainly not to the levels that we've seen in recent seasons. However, they do have a tendency to upset, so another one where I could be proved wrong, but I just don't have enough faith in them as I have done in the last few seasons, and I do think that a big part of that is a change of managership. 10th place, slap bang in the middle of this table, I have gone with West Ham United. Starting the season with no European football is a first for the Hammers, or at least the first time since 2020, which is not bad going for them, by the way. Although as uncertainty surrounds the future of the club's record signing Lucas Paqueta, missing out on Europe isn't their only bump in the road. Juan Lopetegui is the new head coach following the departure of David Moyes at the end of last season in an attempt to move the club in an upward trajectory, and I think that he is a wonderful appointment. He just doesn't tend to stick around long. That's the only con. I think that West Ham have got a really good core of players, and to be honest, it's just hard to fit them any higher than any of the teams above them. Obviously, the change of manager does bring a sense of uncertainty, but I think that they will be fine. So I think that a mid-table, stable finish will be a sensible prediction for the Hammers this season, and it will be interesting to see if they can kick on and make some more impressive signings, that can maybe take them to that next level. 9th place now, and a team that I would love with all my heart to put higher than 9th, but I just can't find a place for them. I am going with Crystal Palace. Following the departure of Roy Hodgson last season, Oliver Glasner has been a revolution for the Eagles. He's got Mateta looking like a real quality striker, which is the polar opposite of what I had to say about him, and what most had to say about him as well. And there is finally for Palace fans now a sense of optimism at potentially pushing further up the league, when previously they had only been limited to around those mid-table spots. Elise I don't think will be as much of a miss for Palace as many seem to think, and Ismail Assar could find some form under Glasner, although I'd like to see a stronger improvement given the funds brought in. They've had some really solid foundations in their squad, especially at the back, for some while now, and they have finally found the right manager to unleash their potential and really kick on, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this team up and around those European spots at some points during this season. I just don't think that they have the depth to quite see it out. I think though that a top half finish should be a minimum for Crystal Palace this season, and one that would outline some real progress as a club. Right, now we get into what for me is the most competitive part of this league, and where I am sure that I'm going to upset the most amount of people and probably get a lot of these wrong, and it is the 8th place up until 3rd. And starting off in 8th place, I am going with Spurs, and no, it's not because of this on my left, I just can't squeeze them any higher than this. Since Harry Kane left Spurs for Bayern Munich, one of the biggest gaps in Spurs squad has been that lack of an out-and-out goal scorer, and with names like Ivan Toney and Dominic Solanke being floated around as a potential replacements for Kane, it seems like the club have got a real strong desire to fill that void. They've got two young great midfielders who are add quality and depth to a position that they've really struggled in, and I think that given time, Spurs could end up becoming a real force in this league. I like Postecoglou and the project that he's building here, and I think that Spurs will do well, but I also think that these additions probably need about half a season to really settle in the Premier League. Archie Gray, as we've seen, is a fantastic prospect, but can he do it in one league higher? I think he can, but I also think he needs time. If Spurs can break into the top 4 this season, and trust me, I think that that is doable, it will be tough, it will be competitive, but if they can get the right striker to fill that gap up top, then pushing for those places is certainly doable. Rumours are rumours though, and I have to judge what's in front of me at the moment, and as I keep on mentioning, it is such a glaring hole in that team, as well as having to sort of gel up the midfield and the new signings and just tighten up on a few mistakes. I feel like Spurs are really on the periphery of becoming a massive force in this Premier League. Because they aren't quite there yet, I just can't put them any higher than 8th, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them finish better if things gel a little bit sooner. 7th place now, and I am going with Aston Villa. Unai Emery is doing absolutely everything he can to get himself a statue outside Villa Park one day. The rise that they have had under him is absolutely phenomenal. Not only did his side reach the semi-finals of the UEFA Conference League last season, but they also capped it off with their first top 4 finish since 1996. They may have lost Diaby and Douglas Luiz, but their incomings have been magnificent, with Onana from Everton and Maatsen from Chelsea the obvious standouts, but re-signing Jadon Philogene could be a stroke of Philogenius. Sorry about that. Diaby never really found a way of shoring up his end product, but Philogene's championship form was brilliant, and if that translates to the Premier League, then overall it is a steal for the Villa. On top of that, their squad is now deep enough to compete on not only the Champions League, but also the Premier League as well, and it is rich with quality. But I think that where the real difference is this season compared to where they were competing in the Conference League last season as well as the Premier League, is that the Champions League is going to be so mentally draining for them, as well as the obvious fatigue that it's going to bring, and we really saw that with Newcastle last season, so I think it is going to be hard for them to maintain that level in the league as well. I'm excited about their Champions League prospects however, and I would love to be able to make it to one of those group stage games. As far as their league form's concerned however, I think that we will see a slight drop, but I still think that they will be very competitive, and I think that they will still be pushing up for those European spaces. It's one of those teams though that are really hard to call, so I'm going to be interested to read your comments on how you think Villa are going to do. 6th place now, and I am going with Liverpool. After 8.5 seasons under Jurgen Klopp, whoever took over was always going to struggle to live up to the task of replacing him. Arne Slot is a man who Liverpool have backed, and I expect it will take him time to settle and also rebuild Liverpool's current squad. The side built by Jurgen Klopp is aging, with the likes of Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk and Robertson past their prime, and you can see that the squad that Klopp has left is not the finished article and is rather a team in transition. That being said, Van Dijk had a solid season just gone, and Salah registered 28 goal involvements despite looking off pace at points, but they are coming to the end of their careers, and I think that Slot's identity is going to take some time to implement. Their opening fixtures to the season are very nice ones as well, and they're going to give us a very good indicator of where this Liverpool side are at the moment, but I do fear that in those big games that is where they're going to struggle at first, as Slot tries to work out this league, tries to work out the managers that he's up against, and I think that those poor results in the big games are going to make a difference later down the line. It's not to say by any stretch of the imagination, by the way, that this appointment is a wrong one. I just think that naturally, as I keep saying, it's going to take time, and that is why I think that we will see a bit of a knockback in the league table for Liverpool this season. And the last thing that I'll add on top of that is I am worried at the lack of backing that Slot has had in his first transfer window with the club. 5th place now, and do you know what? It's probably the most unpredictable team in the league. I have gone with Chelsea. Another season, another new manager, another season of total unpredictability. Oh, how I love my club. Once again active on the transfer front, spending over £100 million on players that probably won't play that much, and signing our 4th first team goalkeeper, although I'm expecting to see Kepa or Sanchez on their way out, which is a shame by the way, because I really liked Petrovic last season. I'm especially excited for Dewsbury Hall as a replacement for Conor Gallagher, although Gallagher hasn't actually been sold yet as I'm filming, although it is looking nailed on that we are about to sell another one of our best players and another one of our homegrown players at that, so you love to see it. these things are all just part and parcel of being a Chelsea fan at the moment. New boss Enzo Maresca is undoubtedly a gamble, but one that I am optimistic for. As I've already said, Leicester were one of my favourite teams to watch last season, and on the break they were particularly fantastic. So with our current crop of players, I think that will actually suit us to a T, and I think that Maresca will outdo a lot of people's pessimism surrounding his appointment. All in all, I'm growing ever hopeful for this Chelsea side and also ever pessimistic. It is just so frustrating to see a club in not just a demise, but just being run by a bunch of idiots that clearly don't know what they're doing. I don't know how long this trial and error is going to be going on for, but Cole Palmer is undoubtedly our saving grace. And all in all, we've got a decent squad. I think it's going to be another season of highs and lows, but I'm optimistic that under Maresca we could sneak into one of these European spaces. Where it's going to be and whether or not we make it, I don't know, but I have faith. I'm always supporting the boys, but it is frustrating being a Chelsea fan at the moment, and I hope that this season we can find some success in the league and hopefully find some success in the Conference League, which is a competition that I didn't think that I'd see us playing in anytime soon, but we're here, and to be fair, I'm excited. It's a new competition. We could be the first team to win all 3 of the current European trophies. Now that would be a stat and a half, wouldn't it? Let's move on. 4th place now, and a side that I'm really optimistic for, I have gone with Newcastle United. Following on from their impressive Champions League campaign that saw them narrowly missing out on making it through to the next round in the group of death, we saw that their Premier League form suffered at the start of the season as a result. It was a vast improvement in the second half of the season, however, and the Geordie boys finished just outside the European spaces, which does mean that the Premier League will be their sole focus this season. In a squad filled with quality players such as Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon, and under the stewardship of Eddie Howe, European football should absolutely be the minimum objective for Newcastle this season, and I'm confident enough in this squad that I think that we could see them break into the top 4 again, and I think that my only real threats for them this season would be the likes of Villa, Chelsea, and Liverpool, who I've already mentioned. 3rd place now, and another team that are quite possibly one of my most controversial picks, I have gone with Manchester United. Erik ten Hag's FA Cup win for me feels like a pivotal moment for his tenure at Manchester United. The way that they played in the final against Manchester City was unbelievable, although their fragility against Coventry is still fresh in the memory, and that's not even getting stuck into their 8th place league finish last season. The reason why I have so much faith in Manchester United this season is because you've got the likes of Chelsea, Aston Villa, Liverpool, Tottenham as well, who are all going through a bit of a transitional phase at the moment, with I suppose the exception of Villa. They're in that list purely because of their Champions League commitments already, but because of these teams who you would expect to be comfortably securing these spots at any other season, going through what they're going through at the moment, there is a real opportunity for Manchester United to seize that opportunity and take it with both hands. They just need to focus on their consistency, because that was a glaring problem for them last season. If they manage that, and if they can use that FA Cup win as a springboard for success, I think that they should get top 4 easily. But it is Manchester United, and we know that, as recent history would show, things are never as easy as they seem. Heading up to the top 2 now, and it is the obvious top 2. Who's going to win the league this season? Let's start off with 2nd place, and I am going for Arsenal. They've overtaken Liverpool as Pep Guardiola's main title threats, and the work done by Arteta and the patience shown by the club in sticking by him has been astonishing. This could very well be the season where we see Arsenal dethrone Manchester City, but I will get into my reasons for why I think Manchester City will win when we get to them. Jurrien Timber will be like a new signing this summer after his injury at the beginning of last season, and if he can find the player he was before that injury, then Arsenal have a real quality player on their hands. I am surprised about all the hype surrounding Calafiori. I thought he was okay at best, but he does give Arsenal depth at centre-back, which is an area that needed strengthening. And on top of that, he is young, so he has room to develop under Arteta. If they can sign a real quality striker, then I think Arsenal's team is just simply better than Manchester City's. They only missed out on the title by 3 points last season, and it's all about establishing those marginal gains for Arsenal, because really what we saw last season was a title winning side that were just denied by a title winning machine. Which brings us nicely on to Manchester City now, and in what is very likely to be Pep Guardiola's final season in charge for Manchester City, there's going to be an added pressure for those players to bring one last Premier League trophy home. We all know how good Manchester City are and how methodical Guardiola is as a coach, and last season or not, we know that he won't accept losing as an outcome. They haven't strengthened or weakened their squad at the beginning of this season, and in truth, I don't really think that there is much that needs to be be done to it. De Bruyne looking to see the season out with Manchester City is a massive plus for the citizens after interest from Saudi clubs has died down, so it is looking like one last dance for more than just Pep. What's more, despite picking up criticism last season, Haaland finished with his second golden boot in as many years, and I think that he will use that criticism as well as the rest that he had over the summer to fuel his positive performances again this season, and I think fire Manchester City to a record-breaking 5th title in a row. For me, it just has all the ingredients for a perfect send-off for Pep, and a record-breaking one at that as well. I think that Arsenal will put up a massive fight though, like they did last season, but I just think that we are all going to have to sit here and suffer one more Manchester City title. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching as always. Thank you for sitting through all of that. If you have sat here and sat through all of that, comment down below your predictions and let me know what you think of mine. I'm expecting a lot of stick on this, by the way, but it's going to be a long and exciting season as ever with a lot of twists and a lot of turns. Go and check out my other predictions videos as well. Like I said, we got League 2, League 1, Championship and all of that jazz, and this Premier League one does bring an end to this little mini series, I suppose. We've got the football vlogs coming back very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen, so subscribe, stick around for those, and like I said at the beginning, comment down below any games or any teams you want me to go and visit this season, but we're going to end things here. I will see you guys very, very soon for the start of the season. Football's nearly here. Take care as always. Peace and love.